Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, at the request of a donor, I am playing some Mono Red Dark Depths. Yep, you heard that right, Mono Red Dark Depths. So how does this work? Well, Dark Depths comes in with 10 ice counters. Now we can either make a copy, and the copy has no ice counters, so therefore we get our 2020, or we can make this come in with no ice counters. How do you do that, you ask? Well, if we have Blood Moon, Blood Sun, or Magus of the Moon in play before we play the Dark Depths, it will come in with no counters. So then if our Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon leaves play, we will get our 2020. So how are we getting rid of our own Blood Moons? Well, we have this card called Betrayer's Bargain. 2 mana instant, as an additional cost to cast this, sacrifice a creature or enchantment, or pay 2. It deals 5 damage to target creature, and it exiles it if it would die this turn. So what we're trying to do is sacrifice our Blood Moon effect to the Betrayer's Bargain to maybe kill like our opponent's blocker for our Marit Lage, and then that gets us the Marit Lage. We can do that at the end of our opponent's turn. We also have Kazuul's Fury here, which is a thing that we can use to fling, so we can fling our Magus of the Moon, or if we have a 2020, we can fling that to get around things like Ensnaring Bridge. That's pretty much what we're trying to do here. We also have a bunch of Karns and a nice little Karn board, but there's one card that I really need to draw your attention to in the Karn board, and that is Claws of Gix. 0 mana artifact, pay 1, sacrifice a permanent, you gain 1 life. So this is another way that we can sacrifice any of these things and get our 2020. Now I've played decks that look like this before in the past, and they can be explosive and do some good stuff, and sometimes you do just win the game because you're playing Blood Moons and Chalice. And that is definitely an angle that we're going to try and leverage as best possible. We're a little bit shy on the red mana, because we've got all this colourless mana to power out things like Karn. So hopefully that won't come back to bite us, but we shall see. Like Chrome Mox and Spirit Guys are going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting for us today, I suspect. We have the Sorcerous Spyglass in the main, because we want to be able to name things like Wasteland. Because yes, we can shut their things off with the Blood Moon. However, if they leave their Wasteland untapped, when our Blood Moon effect goes away, there is a window where they can then hit our Dark Depths with a Wasteland before this trigger resolves, and therefore we don't get a 2020. So that's the reason for the Sorcerous Spyglass. We've got some Fable the Mirror Breakers to tie the room together. It's like pretty much the best red card in Legacy. It's right up there anyway. Sideboard wise, these are the tools we have access to. So we have some Graveyard Hate and Unlicensed Hearth. We've got Trinispheres. These are things that we'll sometimes be boarding in as well. We've got ourselves Palantír, Ensnaring Bridge, Mycosynth Lattice, Walking Ballista, Coating, just all the stuff you'd kind of expect really. We've got a couple of Rabblemaster if we need to go that route, and a couple of Faerie Macabre, alongside a couple of Fury to sweep out some creatures. This is the exact list that I was sent by the donor. I think I would make a few changes if I was doing it, so I would have a different Karn board here. I would probably want a Tormod's Crypt, so you can go play the Karn and immediately get a piece of Graveyard Hate that you can play. I'm not convinced on the Rabblmasters, but just a few little tweaks. But we're going to play it as it lies today and see how it feels. So like and subscribe, and let's get stuck in with some Mono Red Depths. For free, fast, and secure worldwide shipping on high-end singles, classic products, and full sets, check out 3-for-1 Trading. Whether it's the legacy or pre-modern that I play on this channel, or even vintage and old school, they've got you covered. Find them through the link in the description of this video, and use my code COW3 for free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Okay, turn 1 Blood Moon may or may not be good enough, we shall see. It's kind of what our deck is looking to do a lot of the time, so we'll try it. Our opponent is a very well-known combo player, so we might just not have any purchase here. Okay, this is a permanent we can blow up with our Blood Moon. Mishra's Bauble. Urza's Bauble. So we could be looking at some kind of 8-casty style deck. It could just be some sort of combo-y deck as well. Keeping these around would probably make me think they're more likely to be doing 8-casty stuff. Getting rid of them suggests that we're going for a wild ride in the near future. I would like to get this Ancient Tomb out. I'd like to cast a Blood Moon. Let's see if we can shut down this Urza's Saga. Alright, that's gone. That's a good find for us. Our opponent does still have the Lion's Eye Diamond, and presumably Echo of Eons is in their deck. If I can find a Chalice, we can do some work. If we can get this Karn into play and get a Trinisphere, that should be good enough here. Land Grant. So our opponent has revealed their hand to us. Alright. The Artist Talents combo deck. So if you're unfamiliar with this one, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And then you can level it up to make non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less. And then the final mode is like Pyromancer's Swath for you people who are playing back then. So we're playing all our stuff out and passing the turn. Okay. Karn the Great Creator. I would like to get you in play, but you're a little bit on the slow side. I think we just have to keep playing lands. I just play out a mountain. Feel like we are at our opponent's mercy. They are a red deck, so whilst the Blood Moon did manage to take out a Urza Saga, that's kind of like the highest upside that we can usually get from that. I think they're just going to level up their artist talent. Yeah, they're leveling this up now. Because we're not doing anything to pressure them, so they've got time to just invest their resources here. Another Blood Moon. Is that what I want? I don't think it is. Because if we play out another Blood Moon, it kind of puts us at an awkward position in terms of getting a 2020, which could be our way of winning the game. I don't want to show them the Thespian stage. I think I'm just going to play out the City of Traitors. I don't want them knowing what sort of a weirdo we are just yet. Rite of Flame. So they can draw and discard cards. They've still got this Jeska's Will in hand. Have they? No, the Jeska's Will is gone now. They discarded that earlier. Apologies. So they're gambling. This is going to go and get them a draw 7. So we're going to go and see an Echo of Eons here. They're just getting all the mana from the Nine-Side Diamond now. I guess I don't need to, though. Runehorn Hellkite. Okay. So this is pay 6, exile a card from your graveyard. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. So they're going to see our Thespian stage here. I don't think it matters too much, given our opponent is most likely to be the aggro, I suppose, in this matchup. They're the one that we're going to be trying to stop winning the game. So we have a Chalice. That is a big deal if we get a turn. Our opponent's got 3 mana floating and a full grip. I suspect we're not getting a turn. Our opponent is also smart enough to work out what's happening when they see the Thespian stage in our graveyard. So they will know what we're on, more or less. It is possible they brick, though. A Jeska's Will. They are going for adding a bunch of mana. Okay. Well, we've got 7 cards in hand, so that's going to be a lot of mana for them. Might as well F6. We're not really playing at instant speed sort of deck. So this deck can win using the Pyrite Spellbomb and looping it, I believe. They have a way of doing that. Another Artist Talent. This just gives them more looks at what they're looking for. Right, we've got a gamble going on here. Let's pop their graveyard out and just see what's going on. So they do have Echoes. That's not a surprise. They've got this Veil of Summer. And they've got a Grape Shot here. So they're going to ping us down a little bit. I don't know if they're running multiple Grape Shots, but obviously these get shuffled back into their library. Oh, did we have the extra damage coming through? Yeah, so each of these ones is hitting us for 3 damage. So they only needed 7. Alright. Sideboarding. I would very much like to have access to my Trinispheres, please. That's probably all we really have that matters here. We're unlikely to hit anything with a Faerie Macabre. Like, we could bring them in, but it's a bit sketchy. Honestly, like, the Blood Moon stuff doesn't feel incredible to me. But it is a core part of what we're doing, so that's awkward. So what are we fetching with the Karn most of the time here? Probably Liquimetal Coating and Lattice are the 2 things we're mainly looking at, which probably means we want the Palantír in the main deck. And we can just board out some of our Blood Moon effects. So I'll probably get rid of just actual factual Blood Moon, because the Magus can attack and the Blood Sun cantrips. Alright, I'm not feeling very good about this one. We need to have like a Chalice or Trinisphere start. This does not do anything. That's mulligan. This is a turn 1 Trinisphere, and then we can work out the rest afterwards. Okay. That's what we're looking for. Then we're going to put away 1 Sorcerous Spyglass. I would have liked to have not have to throw this City of Traitors away, but our opponent can kill us on turn 1, so we are casting the Trinisphere. Maybe this is a matchup where we want the Rabblmasters in, so that we actually have just some pressure. And there's a Saga. So this is something that they can get some work done with. What do I want to do with this Karn? So we can play out this snow-covered mountain and just deploy the Sorcerous Spyglass. Or we can play out this City of Traitors and deploy the Karn. And then the next turn we can get like a... I think we're supposed to play this Sorcerous Spyglass. And then we can name Urza Saga. We get to look at their hand as well. They do have an Artist Talent over there. But I think the Urza Saga is the more immediate thing I'm scared of. Now if they find like a Soul Land or something, then they can just start crunching out constructs and we're not going to beat that. Okay, let's just remove some of our opponent's mana here. So this shuts off the sacrifice clause of the City of Traitors, and we now have a win condition here. If I'd have known I was drawing this, I probably would have named the Artist Talent instead. Right, we're going to clean up. They can clean up things like Echo of Eons and Runehorn Hellkite if they draw them. A Chrome Mox. I don't think we're playing that one, are we? We could play it. I'm just thinking, if we play this Magus of the Moon, we lose the mana off City of Traitors. And then we're kind of a long way from doing anything. But then so is our opponent. Okay, let's just play a threat. Just need 10 turns. Turn this sideways. And I'm sure we can draw a couple of mana sources in those 10 turns. This is a Chalice that we cannot cast because it costs 3 and we only have 2 mana now. Kazuul's Fury. You are a land, aren't you? Okay, so how do we do this? X is currently 1. Adjust. X is 0. So I believe I've cast this correctly. Yes, so this is now on 0, so it shuts off all their baubles and stuff. Not that the Trinisphere isn't doing that already. Interesting one to resolve, the old Chalice of the Void underneath Trinisphere. Okay, so we did the thing we had to do. So let's just try and re-rack and do that again. I think I do like the Rabblemasters over the Blood Moon and maybe one of the Maguses. Let's try that. Like, the Karn is obviously very good against our opponent because it shuts down all their artifacts. What does this hand accomplish? This is turn 1 Magus or Fable. And then what? Then we probably die to our opponent. I think we need to mulligan to one of our lock pieces. This is a turn 1 Trinisphere. I'll keep this. So we want to keep all the mana. But I'd rather have a Magus of the Moon or a Blood Sign. Blood Sign cantrips. I think we're going to get rid of the Magus here. Let's hope they don't turn 1 us though. Lion's Eye Diamond. That's normally a pretty good start to trying to turn 1 someone. A gamble. So we're almost certainly going to see an Echo this turn. I believe. Okay, so they discarded this Mishra's Bauble. So they maybe already had the Echo and were trying to go for another Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, so we're going to get a fresh grip here. We have 6 cards that basically matter in our entire deck here. I could have exiled these, but we don't have anything to do with them. Okay, Chalice is relevant if we get a turn. Rite of Flame. I think we're just going to get turn 1 here though. Just because we'll for more cards. They found mana, they didn't find a payoff if that's what they're looking for. 3 cards in hand. They didn't play the Ancient Tomb, which is interesting. Right, so the Mycosynth Latticing for the LED. So the LED doesn't need to tap to sacrifice, so you can make the Mycosynth Lattice become an LED and just get you more LED. Right, we've got another Echo firing off here, so we're going to see a new grip of cards. Our opponent's getting pretty close to killing us. We have double Chalice this time, so we can go Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2. Sorry, Chalice on 0, Chalice on 1. But, like I said, we're probably not getting a turn here. This deck is very much Killer Bee's little passion project that they've been playing for a little while. It's really cool watching it operate. It used to be like the Riddler deck, but the Artist Talent just means that you can just do that a lot better than the Riddler. You don't need to run the 2 cards for it. It's like a 2-mana artifact creature that means when you discard cards, it goes underneath it. And then obviously this kind of emulates the Riddler, which is Riddlesmith, which lets you cycle a card whenever you cast an artifact. Right, so we got a gamble. Are we going again? A Grape Shot went to the bin there. So it felt like they were trying to gamble their way to the victory there. Okay, they got nothing. They're out of cards here. Oh, they got the Runehorn Hellkite in the graveyard. Yeah, okay, that would allow them to continue going here. Okay, we have Chalice for 0. That could be useful. Don't know why I'm speculating about these cards that we're never going to get a chance to cast. Is this going to be a Jessica's Will for cards or for mana? Is this for mana? That's kind of scarier in a lot of ways. So non-creature spells cost 1 less for them to cast right now. Jessica's Will. This time they're going for cards. Okay. There's another Echo. Right, they've got a 3rd Artist Talent here, so they can then mill over way more cards and try and dig for the thing they're looking for. Alright, a new 7. What does this 7 do? Probably the worst of the bunch, I guess. Alright, so they've got the Daredevil thing, which is a card that gets discarded to the Artist Talent, and then when they play an artifact, it comes back. So they just end up just drawing a card every time with their Artist Talents instead of actually discarding, because they're getting this back every turn. Alright, they found a Grape Shot for 32. That is good enough for me. Yep, not surprised this matchup went wrong. We have to just make a turn 1 hate piece, and we didn't get to do that because our opponent was on the play. Alright, on to round 2. This opener isn't great. I think we're going to send this one back. Kind of need to be able to play some of our spells. Turn 2, Chalice of the Void, into turn 3, Magus of the Moon, and we're entirely wastelandable. I don't think we can keep this. Okay. I will keep this. What are we putting back here? One of these. And we have some different choices about how we play this game. We could just go 1, 2, 3 lands, make a 20/20. That is a thing we're allowed to do. I don't think we can get rid of our red source though, because that is kind of integral to our deck. So we can either get rid of the Chalice or the Moon. Maybe it's the Moon. Then we're at least doing something on turn 2. I'm reluctant to play out the Sokenzan as it's our only red source. I think we play out the Thespian stage and pass. So by playing the City of Traitors next turn, we can play the Chalice around a daze, and that can shut off things like Swords to Plowshares as well. Black, we're just getting Thought Seized. Alright, that's fine. Weirdly. Now, depending on what the rest of our opponent's hand and deck does, that might not be fine. Betrayer's Bargain. Okay, Dark Depths, here you are. We're playing out this way so that we can keep our City of Traitors around, so if we have to try and rebuild and play other spells, we can. But maybe we just get to make a 20/20. White mana. That's bad news for us. Magus of the Moon. Well, that's our follow-up, I guess. So our opponent has to keep that white mana up at all times. They can flash in something like a Failure here, but they have to have it available every turn cycle. Yep, so there is the Failure. So we're obviously not going to make a 20/20 in response to that, because it will just get blinked. Opponent seems pretty basic land heavy, which is not ideal for us. So we could make a 20/20 and block after its triggers out of the way. How does that actually work out for us? Probably not great. Let me just take it here. Considering the weakness of our hand, I think we are just supposed to chance our arm here and just say, maybe they don't have it. Sometimes you get dealt a hand and you just have to play it one way. Can I have a 20/20, please? Are we going to gain 20 life? At least gives us some time to try and put something else together. Right, there is the plow. Sure. Now we are in a pretty awkward spot because our land is a City of Traitors. Okay, let's put a permanent into play, I guess. So they're going to go Infection of the basic here. They've clearly got a lot if they're running things like Prismatic Vista. I can't imagine this is going to go well for us. It feels like they're very good against both halves of our deck. Like they're going to be really strong into like the mono red prisony thing because they've just got a load of basics and they've got stuff up the curve and lots of interaction for what we might resolve. And then they've got loads of white removal for our Marit Lage side. And they've got Wastelands. So I don't really know what our solution to this matchup is going to be. Just Furies and hoping for the best. We've got a lot of life here. Okay, they're going to blink out our Magus and they're going to Wasteland us. And then I'm going to concede the game. Okay, getting crushed. Alright, Furies. We want you in here. We want other stuff that they maybe want to hit with their removal spells. The Chalice is still good. It shuts off the Swords to Plowshares. I don't really like a Blood Moon strategy very much here. Let's just turn these into some like good old-fashioned mono-red cards and go from there. Like we do have tools to get through this. You know, we've got the Sorcerous Spyglass to shut off the Wastelands. We've got the Chalice of the Void to shut off the Swords to Plowshares. You know, we can get there. It's just difficult. It's slow, but Fury is like one of the big draws to how we're going to try and win this game. So I will keep this. We're also stable a little bit because we have one of our basics. So we can start the game comfortably on a land that won't get wastelanded. Makes the Moon not looking great right now. But hopefully we can Fury some stuff away and then sit behind a Karn and win. Right, they've got fetch lands. They're probably going to go get either a basic or a Surveil land. What land do we play here? I think we can take an opportunity to get this without paying the life. Because our opponent is trying to clock us with creatures. This can buy us a little bit more time. It's tempting to keep it for a red card so that we can actually pitch it to Fury. But maybe we can hardcast this Fury, which would be the best outcome. Because then it can represent, like, you know, a 3-for-1 relatively easily at that point. the sort of value play we need to get in here. Are they really miss on land? Or are they got something they want to reanimate? Kazuul's Fury. Well, I think our opponent is going to cast a Swords to Plowshares. So they're going to float white, let this resolve, then plow it. Yeah, because why would they keep a one-lander? It would have to have some one-mana interaction that's useful in the matchup. So that's things like Thoughtseize, which they didn't cast, or Plows, which they haven't had an opportunity to. Now, if we can't capitalize on our opponent's land here... Okay, so maybe they intentionally missed a land drop just so they could reanimate this. That is a possibility. This is also a 5/5. And you may have noticed that we don't have a lot to do this. Okay, so Baragoyf is disastrous for red decks because it's basically unkillable. It returns Solitude, so they're more scared of us having the Marit Lage combo. It makes sense because we got the Thespian stage in play. Oh, what are we supposed to do here? We can Pitchcast a Fury and then Kazuul's Fury the Fury to kill to kill this, or we could Betrayer's Bargain it to kill this. We don't have the mana to just pay this for 4 mana, which would be fine if we could, but this comes in tapped. This is tough. I don't think we can beat this coming back again and again and again. So this is so bad. I think we have to Pitchcast the Fury. I hate this. I hate this a lot. So we'll put some damage on here because it's the only thing we can do. And then I think we cast Betrayer's Bargain, which alone would have been enough, but we didn't have the 4th mana, which is really unfortunate here. This could have lined up nicely for us if we'd just drawn an untapped mana source. But now we've had to burn both of our Furies. We'll play this Kazuul's Fury. That gives us access to Karn, so at least we have something going on next turn. And our opponent is a little bit shy of mana. They did not play a second land. They were just on the one lander there. And maybe Karn can take this over. We can just be a mean person who Liquimetal Coatings our opponent out of the game. I will play this land tapped. And then we're just going to start blowing up their lands. And hopefully that wins us the game. But land into reanimate can all of a sudden throw us into a bit of a spin as well. So what have they got for 2 mana here? Orcish Bowmasters is okay. Felia is pretty good. So let's cast our Liquimetal Coating. A Disruptor Flute. Yep, that's pretty irritating. Because that shuts off our Karn. Interesting they didn't... I guess they wanted to see if we minus for something more useful. But yeah, so we don't get to use our Karn anymore. That's not great. We can still use the static ability of the Karn, so we can target their scrubland in their upkeep. This one doesn't change the lands for them. But in their upkeep, we will Liquimetal Coating this scrubland, and hopefully that stops them from doing anything. A failure. Sure, it did not stop them in any way, shape or form. Cool. Yeah, this is great. We're just not going to have a good time here. A Simian Spirit Guide, you say? Who am I to turn down a Simian Spirit Guide as a creature? We'll continue to lock down this scrubland. They've got a plow, sure. So far Liquimetal Coating and Karn have done nothing this game. Which is not really what you want for 6 mana's worth of investment. I guess we got them to play a Disruptor Flute. They're coming in at the card just in case we can answer the flute. They're blinking their own flutes here so they can grow their Felia. We can't capitalise on that because the Karn obviously can only interact at sorcery speed. So this comes back, it names Karn again. What are we supposed to do here? This matchup feels unwinnable. I guess we can make a 20/20 at some point. Okay. I guess we'll try out a Sorcerous Spyglass. At least see what our opponent's working with. Maybe we can shut something off. Solitude, Solitude, overall the Belmerk, White Orcish Phantom, Swords to Plowshares. I don't know how we're going to beat any of that. I think I'm just going to scoop it up. Yeah, our opponent's one lander just absolutely pulverized us. Now, they did have to have specifically Disruptor Flute here. It was unfortunate that they had it, but they're obviously going to have a bunch of spells if they're keeping a one lander. Alright, a bit of a rough start to the league. Let's see if we can rally it in the back half. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Turn 2 Magus of the Moon, turn 3 Marit Lage combo. That is what we came here to do, so I'm going to keep this. Uh-oh, blue spells. A basic island and a pass. Let's just play a nice tapped Shatterskull Smashing with the intention of playing City of Traitors into Magus of the Moon next turn. Okay, we're getting stocked up. Oh, Show and Tell just straight up. Okay. I'll put in this Magus of the Moon, I suppose. Omniscience. Are we dead? They're stocking up. So stock up is likely to find them more cantrips or the thing they're looking for. And then more cantrips can then find them more stock ups and so on and so forth. So this is exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. This is one of the best performing combo decks in Legacy right now. A second Omniscience just in case we can answer the first in our mono red deck. Alright, Preordain. Ponder. Cunning Wish. So this will find them a card called Shared Summons. Shared Summons finds them 2 creatures from their grave. Okay, then they're going a different route. Fire Mind's Foresight. So this searches them for a 3, a 2, and a 1. And puts it in their hand. So they get an Intuition, which can find anything they want. Impulse, which can just dig a little bit, and a Brainstorm. So they cast the Intuition, go and get some Emrakuls, cast an Emrakul, and then we die. So we'll just let them show us the Emrakul. And then we will scoop this one up. Yep. I don't know how we're supposed to win this one. Which is, unfortunately, a phrase I'm saying quite a lot today. So, what works here? Trinisphere? It's not very good against their Ancient Tomb deck. Sorcerous Spyglass doesn't really do anything either. Maybe the Sorcerous Spyglass can become Trinispheres. Jeez. The only way we really win this one is if our opponent is really slow out the gates. Yeah, our deck is quite pondersome. I'm not sure it's going to be quick enough to really matter to a lot of our opponents today. Okay. I guess we keep. We do Chalice on 1 and then Fable on 2 if we draw any red card. So this will shut down Brainstorms and Ponders, which can be an essential part of our opponent's grease on their wheels to get things going. Alright, it's worth a Force of Will to them. They pitched a Ponder. Fair enough. Like, that Ponder's gone anyway, so makes sense. And lo and behold, they have another cantrip. So we could just play a Trinisphere. But I would like to get this Fable of Mirror Breaker as a thing we can cast afterwards. Okay, we don't get to do that. We cast a Trinisphere here. Next time we cast a Karn. I don't like it, but I think that's probably what we have to do here. Now, Trinisphere is pretty good against the Omniscience part of their deck. But if they can just Show and Tell and an Emrakul instead, then we can just get right in the bin. Okay, I'm not playing this land out because we'll lose our city. We need to use this land next turn to get our Karn in. Once the Karn is in, we can try and do things a little bit differently. But this is the problem with Trinisphere against this deck, because they're an Ancient Tomb deck. They're casting Stock Up. They're casting Sneak and Shows. Show and Tells. So they're trying to just play 3 drops anyway ahead of curve. It does shut off a few of their things, and they can't cantrip as well, and maybe they pass a turn after they cast an Omniscience, rather than just killing us. Is this Blood Moon worth casting? I don't think it's what we're casting this turn. I think this is the Karn turn. And then hopefully we find some mana next turn. Let's go get an artifact. So we say yes. I think the highest upside here is probably the Liquimetal Coating. So we could get an Ensnaring Bridge, and that way if our opponent shows and tells in an Emrakul, we put in the Ensnaring Bridge. That is a thing we're allowed to do. Okay, I think we're going to do that and try and stop them from Emrakuling us, then maybe we can just get enough value out of our Karn to win the game. This looks like an end of turn intuition from our opponent. This is a good draw. So we can minus this We can go and get this Liquimetal Coating. We can pour Ancient Tomb. We have to tap the Ancient Tomb because of our Trinisphere. Or we can shut off our opponent's Ancient Tomb next turn. Now they can Force of Will this. Pitching a Dress Down. I'm not really sure that's what our opponent wants to be using their spells to do. So if we find a Soul Land, we can just go get the Lattice and lock our opponent out. So there is a touch of hope. Stock up, okay. Our opponent has seen many, many cards in their deck. So they've seen over a third of their deck at this point. Not a Soul Land. Okay. What is the play here? We can shut down their Ancient Tomb if we want to. We can redeploy the Karn. Well, we can deploy another Karn, but what does that actually do for us? We could just play this Chrome Mox and then plus the Karn. Alright, we'll plus no targets. I think playing out the Chrome Mox here makes more sense. So we imprint this Blood Moon. And then we're pretty close to being able to do the Karn Lattice lock. Obviously we need to get Karn up 1 in loyalty first. Show and tell. Alright, let's hope our Ensnaring Bridge holds here. This is the line we played to earlier. Omniscience. So all of their spells still cost 3 because of Trinisphere. But making Emrakul cost 3 mana is still pretty darn good. Okay. A Spirit Guide. I guess we are plussing this with no targets. And then next turn we can try and Lattice lock our opponent. And that should work. And Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Sure. They can't attack us though. They get another turn though. Do they have any bounce spell in their deck? Probably. Do they have it in their hand? Hopefully not. Right, it's our turn, is it? Okay, I'll play out a land. We will minus this. Let's go and get Lattice. We'll cast this. Can I have a Lattice, please? If this resolves, then we win the game. A Spell Pierce. Okay. Now what? Do we have anything that exiles our graveyard so we can then get stuff back with Karn? We do. We can unlicensed Hearse. What a weird game this is turning out to be. So I think I'm just going to cast a new Karn. So keep the new one. We minus this. Say yes. We get unlicensed Hearse. We deploy the unlicensed Hearse. This allows us to exile our artifacts so we can get them off of the Karn next turn. Bit of a weird way of going about it, but maybe it'll be good enough. But we are just living in fear of our opponent having anything here. A Cunning Wish. Now this should almost certainly be able to stop whatever we're doing. Have they got something spicy? Wipe Away. So they will bounce. So they could bounce our Trinisphere and just rip off the top of the deck a bunch until they find something else. Or they could bounce the Ensnaring Bridge. They're going for the Ensnaring Bridge. How many permanents can we sacrifice realistically? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll be left... Oh, we're actually only on 12 life. Okay. Yeah, that matchup feels absolutely miserable. They just play a bunch of basic islands. They're a mono blue deck with Ancient Tomb. So they're trying to play a bunch of 3-drops. So we just don't have anything that really interacts with them on a meaningful level. Unless we can get the Karn. Like, we were close. They needed to have a Spell Pierce there. But... yeah, pretty brutal. Let's go to the 4th round, desperately in search of a win. Alright, turn 1 Blood Moon on the play. That can just completely wreck a lot of people's day. I'm going to play the Ancient Tomb because if it doesn't work, I'd rather be able to have the mana available. I think we cast actual factual Blood Moon. It's harder to deal with. Are we in? We're in. Okay, let's hope this does something. So this can either just completely win us the game immediately or do nothing. Alright, a basic land straight away. And a Thoughtseize. Alright, maybe it does nothing. The classic. If we draw Dark Depths, we can make a 20/20 next turn. We can't anymore, they took the bargain. If you see a weird card, you don't know what it's for, doesn't hurt to take it. Blood Sun. Okay, I guess we're just playing out our city and passing. A Wasteland, okay. So that's going to make it difficult for us to do our little combo. and a Netherglyph. So this might be the mono black sort of mid-rangey deck that's been popping up a little bit lately. Betrayer's Bargain, you say? I'll play my Sokenzan and I will get a redraw with his Blood Sun. Okay, but the problem now is that we have two effects that we need to get rid of. Thoughtseize. They're going to take out this Betrayer's Bargain. So we need basically the Karn, which can then let us sacrifice anything, any number of things. Then we still have to deal with this Wasteland, which can also blow us up. So, tricky. On the plus side, this Netherglyph is very small. There is the Karn that I wanted. Do I just play out this Karn? It seems really awkward. Do we have anything in our sideboard that can stop these Wastelands? No. That's what you're telling me. Okay, I'm just going to deploy a Magus. It's the biggest thing on the board, somehow. Underground Mortuary. Okay, so they are not... Well, they might be mono black. This might just be their Surveil land of choice that they can fetch up sometimes. A City of Traitors. Sure, I'll take that. I will deploy Karn. I will get some value off this Karn straight away. What is it that I want, though? I kind of like the Palantír. So we can Palantír now. We could get the Claws of Gix. That's the more enjoyable of the options, but I don't think it's very good on this board. I think we need to work towards... Alright, I'm going to take a Coating. I think it's the Coating here. And then we can just slowly take out our opponent's lands. And then later on, we can get our Claws of Gix down and then make a 20/20. Maybe we're doing it here. Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, so they can ping our Karn for 1. And then they can finish off the Karn by attacking with everything. We do get to eat something with our Magus of the Moon if we do that, though. The downside of getting a Liquimetal Coating here is that it just doesn't do anything. Okay, so they can take our final card. So it didn't really matter what we got there. Oh, they're making us sacrifice a creature. Interesting. So we do have a Liquimetal Coating that does nothing. Cool. If we'd have got a Claws of Gix, we could have at least played it and had that. But we're not going to be able to use a Claws of Gix because our opponent's got 2 Wastelands. They can immediately just Wasteland this once it becomes a normal thing. Okay, let's get our Liquimetal Coating in. We have other cards to draw to. Maybe that helps us out. Just feels pretty miserable, though. A Barrow-Goyf. Yikes. Got another Goyf as well? Sure. So, you know, there are a bunch of games that we will play, or that you could hypothetically play with this, where the turn 1 Blood Moon just automatically wins us the game. This has just had no impact on the game at all. Alright, here comes a 2/2 chump blocker. Our opponent didn't up their Liliana, so they don't have an Edict stored up, which means their hand is just nothing but bangers right now. They don't want to get rid of. Okay. Palantír of their very own. How do we get through this? We can't even draw Karn into Ensnaring Bridge in a reasonable space of time. Alright, I'm just going to take the 4 this time. I think that's wrong. We should have blocked. And then the Palantír, we have to let them have a card. Sorcerous Spyglass. Okay, so we can shut off the Liliana this turn. Okay, so we can chump block this time, but we're going to take 3, 6, 9. Yeah, we're just completely dead, aren't we? Ugh. So, another round where Blood Moon is useless. Awkward. Very awkward for our Blood Moon centric deck. Yikes. What works here? We'll have a Palantír, have some guys. And then we just be stripping out some Blood Moons, I guess. Makes the Moon at least attacks. Oh dear. This is rough. It's a rough day at the office today. Is it the Blood Sun? Probably is the Blood Sun. Yikes. So we can't just do like the, okay, we're a red stompy deck, we can just stomp around and do all that sort of stuff, because we're dedicating quite a lot of our deck to doing something fun and quirky, which I do appreciate. But it is rough out there in the old world of Legacy right now. Okay, we have a turn 2 Marit Lage. This is something that we can try. Our opponent won't see it coming, so maybe they'll commit something to the board and then get blown out by our Spirit Guides. That's very much the plan here. So a little bit all in, but you don't put Dark Depths in your deck without wanting to go all in every now and then. Underground Mortuary, I'm not going to interact with this. We're going to wait for our opponent's turn and see if they tap out. There is a Wasteland. Are they just going to fire it off straight away? They're casting a Dark Ritual. So if our opponent plays this one smartly, then we can't do anything. Look at that. Our opponent's playing it smartly, so we don't get to do anything. Oh, okay. I guess we do this. This might not be good enough. Our opponent might have some Edict effects going on. Kazuul's Fury. It's not really going to help us out here, is it? Okay. They're going to cast a Shoulder's Edict, and we're going to lose our Marit Lage, and then the game. Alternatively, alright, they're attacking. I will block here. The fact that they're letting get this blocking is interesting. They need to get the extra life to go up to 21, I suspect. Another Goyf. Sure. Alright, maybe we're not dead. We can attack for 20. It's this very much the number I like to attack for. Does our opponent have something like a Liliana here? We don't have 2 mana, so we can't like Betrayer's Bargain or anything. Alright, so we managed to get there. Alright, we did the thing. Let's go back in again. I was so sure they had it then. I understand why they would Wasteland on our turn, because that gives them more turn cycles. Sometimes your opponent doesn't have it, and it's okay. I like having a Fury. How do I feel about our mana situation here, though? It's a bit light, isn't it? I think we can do better. Okay, I'm okay with a turn 1 Palantír. We'll get rid of one of these cities. So we can go Stage, Chrome Mox, Chalice, and then turn 2 follow up with a Palantír. That's pretty reasonable. That way we're not going to lose our City of Traitors. We could do the turn 1 Palantír, but I would rather have access to the City of Traitors mana. And a turn 1 Chalice against our opponent's Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, Necrogoyf style deck is pretty good. Nethergoyf, Necrogoyf. I think it's Nethergoyf is the one. I can't remember. There's 2 of them. They're casting Duress into our Chalice. So this might be on purpose to fill up their graveyard. That Wasteland is a little bit annoying for us. I suspect they'll fire it off if they've got nothing going on. An Ancient Tomb. Okay. Let's deploy the Palantír. Okay, so we have a card that does stuff. I want a Blood Sun here. Not especially, really. It's fine, but I don't think we're going to get any of these cards anyway. They're just going to mill them over. Right, they milled over our removal spell. But we have a removal spell in hand that we're pretty close to casting. A Simian Spirit Guide. I'll deploy this City of Traitors. And we're just going to let this Palantír do the work. I'll put this on the bottom, put this on the top. We're not going to draw this, our opponent's just going to take 3 life. It's sort of a win condition. It gets your opponent low and then it gives you enough gas to finish them off. It's a really weird play pattern to this card. But we're doing it. Here comes the beats. I'm saving the Fury as a removal spell. We do not want either of these. They don't dome our opponent and we don't want them. Alright, what do they take? Sorcerous Spyglass and a Magus, so that's 5. Okay, we're getting there. I think this Chalice of the Void absolutely wrecked our opponent. Karn, the Great Creator. He is pretty great, isn't he? So this is 2, 4, 6 mana. I'm going to just animate our Palantír here. Fatal Push is off. We can always sacrifice the Simian Spirit Guide to an Edict. This gets us 5 damage, probably lets us draw a card. They're going to make us sacrifice a Planeswalker. But we've got 5 damage coming in. Palantír will still trigger. We're going to get a card off of it as well as the selection from the Scryan. Bottom, I think. They can't let us not draw a card. Okay, so we have a removal spell if we want it. Or we might be able to get our first match win today. Ancient Tomb. Let's crack in with the Spirit Guide. This is awful. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, I don't think we need to play out the Fury yet. Put this on the bottom, put this on the top. Fable was a pretty good card. I'll take that. Put this in Clean Up Town over there. Karn, the Great Creator. Alright, can we win the game this turn? Certainly possible. Alright, we got the game and the match. Alright, we're on the board. 4 rounds in. We've managed to scrape a win now, so we're starting to get somewhere. Let's see if we can get a 2-3 and get some pity points on the way out. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Sorcerous Spyglass, turn 3 2020. Sure, that's what I came here to do, I suppose. So we start off with the Ancient Tomb. This will also give us the 2 mana that we require for the activation of our Thespian stage. So we could play a Sorcerous Spyglass, have a little peek to see what our opponent's doing and see if we have a better option for our Chalice. Alright, I guess not. Probably not doing anything with this Chalice. What is that over there? A Sundering Eruption. So our opponent's playing the better mono-red prison deck here. Fable, sure. Pretty good. Marit Lage is very good against these decks though, if we can get it to stick. Need to stop our opponent having some sort of Blood Moon effect. This obviously can't stop them having a Blood Moon effect. Simian Spirit Guide, Broadside Bombardiers. Okay, so I'm going to name Broadside Bombardiers here. And then next turn, if they don't do Sorcery Speed, Sundering Eruption on our Thespian stage, then we make a 2020. And that should be pretty good. I relatively like to discard some lands. Okay, so they got rid of Simian Spirit Guide and the Broadside Bombardiers. We've got Blood Moon over there. That obviously causes us a little bit of problems. Right, they're attacking first to get their treasure. City of Traitors. So mana is certainly not a sticking point for our opponent. What have you got? 4 mana. All colourless. Chalice of the Void X equals 2. That is fine. We'll do this now before we have to worry about any Sundering Eruption nonsense. Go Gadget, Dark Depths. This is, generally speaking, very difficult for our opponent to answer. Their best bet tends to be play a 1 ring and buy some time and try and aggro us down. Alright, here is the 1 ring, as mentioned. Okay, if we draw a red card, we can at least play the Karn. We did not draw a red card. That is awkward for us. There's no point attacking when they have protection, so I think we just pass here. So their ideal hope here is to just keep chaining 1 rings whilst putting other permanents into play that can eventually win them the game. But like classic green-black Turbo Depths is very, very favoured into these mono-red decks. So we're kind of doing similar things in some respect, because they just can't interact with the 2020. Now, we're obviously a little bit slower to get this going, so it's not as if we're going to be able to do it underneath their Blood Moons, or have things to blow up their Blood Moons. So things do get worse for us, which is a phrase I find myself saying a lot. So don't mind having these things, don't mind having this. Blood Moon's obviously an absolute pile of rubbish in this matchup. What else can we board in here? Just like some guys. I guess we have to keep a couple of Makes of the Moons. I don't think I want the hearse. It can be a guy that can be bigger than their things, but I don't think that's a good way of playing this one. I'm not convinced any of our Dark Depth stuff is going to work here. We shut off their Bombardiers. We deploy some sort of Fury type nonsense in a few turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Is this any good? I think Fury is like one of the big payoffs we're trying to work towards in this matchup. Because if they just go turn 1 Blood Moon, we're going to have a rough time on that one. What are they imprinting here? Some Spirit Guide. Makes the Moon. Okay, so if we draw a Dark Depths, we just win right now. We did not draw a Dark Depths. We do not win right now. Understood. Okay. Because we could just kill this with a Fury. If they don't play any more Blood Moon effects, then we're in a really good spot. It's not the one we wanted. I think I play out an Ancient Tomb here. And we will go for the Spyglass and shut off the Broadside Bombardiers again. We'll see what they've got. Oh, the 1 ring. Is that better than shutting off the Broadside Bombardiers? 2 Broadside Bombardiers is kind of annoying, though. Do I want to name the Broadside Bombardiers? That's the thing they're most likely to cast in the near future. We just kind of want to slow this one down a bit. I think we name the 1 ring, though. Because we can just clean out the Broadside Bombardiers. It's not exactly how we want to use our tools, but it is the thing we're allowed to do. Okay, so they're going to play one of their Bombardiers, and I'm immediately punished for that choice. Cool. This would be a great turn to draw a Dark Depths. But also, I didn't really want to just let them play the other Blood Moon. So next turn we take 6 damage, and then we take another 10 damage. So we're dead next turn if we don't clean these out. So I think we cast this for its real cost and take out both their guys. So they have a Broadside Bombardiers they can play. Maybe they want to fling like a Chrome Mox, but they can't kill our Fury as it stands. And then we can just Betrayer's Bargain for 4 mana to kill it. And then we've got 6 power coming in every turn, and they are kind of just sat there with nothing. They play a land, they lose their city. Not playing out the One Ring into our Sorcerous Spyglass, are you? They're just playing out a Blood Moon. Okay, so then this way they can play out a land here, I guess, but it seems fine for us. Bombardiers can't throw Blood Moon, it's only artifacts or creatures. Okay, I'll attack. My 6 damage is in. I just play out a mountain this time. Alright. We can kill the Bombardiers. We can bash her a bunch. 3 cards in hand, we know 2 of them. The One Ring, so they're just getting themselves protection for a turn, trying to dig their way out. So what this also means is that they have a 4-drop that they can throw with the Broadside Bombardiers to kill our Fury. What they don't know is that we're just going to blow up their guy. And that's not going to work very well for them. No point attacking, they've got protection. Alright, I think we might be able to do this one, you know. Feeling good about it. Like, our opponent's plan is pretty obvious here. I think it's the exact plan that I would also do in this situation. Betrayer's Bargain. Get smushed. We can attack with this Fury. Let's get Blood Sun. This draws us a card. Maybe it's a useful card. Our opponent isn't quite dead to that, though. Alright, I'll play out the land still. We have our opponent dead next turn, which might surprise them. And if they try and remove our creature, we can at least dome them for 3 or kill a creature. Although if we lose this Fury, we kind of lose all of our pressure and our opponent gets a foot in the door. 4 mana, it's going to be another copy of the One Ring, I suspect. Chalice of the Void X equals 2. That is irrelevant. Okay, I think we have this game now. I'll play a Dark Depths. Bash in for 6. Our opponent isn't going to play anything at instant speed here that's going to impact what we're doing. So let's throw our Fury at our opponent. Kazuul's Fury pitching a Fury to finish off the league. Very furious. And we managed to get a 2-0 at the end. So we came away with play points. That's miraculous after the start of this league. If we look how things went, we had a couple of 0-2s. We had one 1-2, and then we ended up with 2-1 and a 2-0. So 5-7 in games isn't that disgraceful at the end of the day, considering what we're playing. So let's talk about this deck and why I don't think it works. So we are kind of spinning the wheel and putting it all on red here in terms of doing Blood Moon stuff as our main way of interacting with our opponent. Because as you saw, when the Blood Moon wasn't good, we got annihilated. Like against the mono black deck and the mono blue deck. We had a rough time. Now we did obviously beat that mono black deck in the end. But playing a Blood Moon that doesn't do anything is pretty grim sometimes. And that's kind of like our main interaction with our opponent. So that is definitely a burden. What we're also doing here is quite slow. So like the Dark Depths, yeah, we can get this to go off on turn 2, in theory. Like if we go turn 1, Magus, turn 2, Dark Depths, Betrayer's Bargain, boom. That is possible, but it requires a very specific set of circumstances that didn't come up today. I've played decks like this in the past before with things like Telemtor's Edict, which is a 1 mana, you destroy your own permanent and draw a card. So that is a thing that you can run if you want to do something that looks like this. Obviously doesn't factor in very well with Chalice, but maybe you don't want Chalices and you want more in the way of things like Furies in the main, because the Fury was pretty good there and gives us some nice interaction. There's also something that we can pitch cast, so if we're not necessarily doing much or we're having to spend our mana playing things like Mags of the Moon or whatever, or Karn, we can then protect that Karn using a Fury. So that's something to consider. But it is a big ask to get this deck to to really function. I think the best I've managed with one of these mono red depth decks over the last couple of years was a 4-1. I did one Depth December. That felt pretty good, but I think Legacy is quite fast, and as you saw, there's a bunch of combo decks that are just going to go underneath what we're doing. And sometimes we get to interact, right? You know, we do have the Chalices, and the Trinispheres can work. But again, we have Chalices. Sometimes they won't work, as we saw in that particular mono-red matchup. Sometimes our Blood Moons won't work. Sometimes our Karns will be too slow. So, you know, sometimes we won't be able to assemble our Dark Depths. So there's lots of disparate pieces here, and trying to get them to all work at the right time isn't easy. And you are just going to be exposed to decks that are more focused in what they're doing. Like, a lot of decks in Legacy are very hyper-focused at what they're doing, and they can accomplish it very easily and reliably. And we're kind of not really doing that. We're hoping that the power of some of our Prism pieces can win some games. And that is true. You can win some games if you just get into the right matchups, and you can just lock people out with this. And then, you know, there are decks that struggle to beat a 2020, even if it's a bit funny the way we have to make it. But there is an inherent flaw with the way this works, in that doing the Blood Moon thing doesn't mean that you're protected against Dark Depths. And if your opponent plays smart, then they never have to worry about it. And that is a problem. So this isn't exactly going to be taken down in any big tournaments, but it is very funny when it works. And it is quite an enjoyable little trip to go through. So I appreciate the donor giving me another chance to play this. I normally only play this about once a year during December. I definitely think it can be tweaked and improved upon. If you want to check out some of the other builds of this, by all means, just look through on my channel. Just look through at the December playlist. It's probably the easiest way of doing it, actually. And you can find the mono red ones, or just search. But we've had some reasonable times with this deck in the past. And, you know, a 2-3 is about what I would expect from this deck, to be honest. If you spike high, then you can do a little bit better. But it obviously is more of a fun, you know, Friday Night Magic sort of deck, rather than I'm going to take this and try and jam some challenges with it. I think, like I said before, we could definitely do with some different graveyard hate. I think I want a Tormod's Crypt in here. That's kind of like a given whenever you play card decks, in my opinion. But we played it as it lied, and we came away with a couple of wins, so I can't really say fairer than that. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out and doesn't cost you anything. And next week we'll be starting with new Target Dragonstorm decks, so make sure that you're ready to watch those. So subscribe so you don't miss any. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.